Alright guys, what is going on? Today's a very gloomy memorial, or actually no, it's not Memorial Day yet, it's Sunday, so outside. I'll just take you guys out here real quick. It did rain quite a bit earlier, but, it might come back a little bit later, but it ain't that bad for now. So, I figure I'm just gonna keep the car in here, go over some stuff with you guys. So, what I'm gonna go over now with you guys, if you haven't seen my first video, I did a two-parter video because it was pretty long, explaining what the essential cost of putting a K-series in a EF. Now I'm gonna go over the maintenance items. So, reason why I did that first video is some people just kind of want to buy an engine and all that, slap it in, get the car running, and go from there. You could do that too, nothing wrong with that. But if you want to kind of do like what I did and or what a lot of people actually do, before they actually put the engine fully together, do a bunch of maintenance stuff on it, like clutch, re-gasket the engine. That's what I'm gonna go over for this video and how much it cost me for what I felt was like maintenance stuff for the car. So it's gonna be real simple. So I'm gonna get through them. It shouldn't take that long, but let's get to it. So simple ones. Intake manifold gasket, 1656. As weird as it sounds, the Skunk 2 one did not come with one. So I had ended up buying one, but yeah, I thought that was a little bit weird, but it is what it is. Exhaust manifold gasket, that was $15.98 for that. The heater hose, this was from the thermostat to the front coolant flange. So it's the one, you see the little hose clamp right down there. So that's that hose. $4.70 for that. And again, I have no particular order how I put all this in. It was one of those when I was buying stuff, I just put a record of it in my phone. So might be jumping back and forth here and there, but you should be able to get the gist of it for the most part. Next, timing cover gasket. Behind the timing cover, there is one little gasket. It's probably the size of, like, say, a coolant flange gasket or something, real small. Since you're gonna have the cover off to, say, do the change, or the change, I should say. You might as well do that little gasket. That was $7.09 for that. Knock sensor, $27.79. I consider that a maintenance item. Valve cover gasket, $12.52. What else we got? Spark plug tube seals, that was $20 for that. The valve cover washer grommets, $45.30, and that's all these. Let's see. The reason why I consider that a maintenance item, there's rubber underneath the silver piece, so sometimes they'll tend to leak over time, and you have to actually end up replacing the whole entire rubber, the grommet itself. So that's why I consider that maintenance item. Breather block O-ring, $327. This whole entire unit here where the water pump and the alternator sits on, since I was taking everything off to like repaint it, I didn't realize behind the breather block in the middle there is a little O-ring. So just for peace of mind, I did just replace that. So that was $327 for that. And just like in my first video, I have it front and back pages. Honda Bond, $11.61 for that. You do use Honda Bond when you put the timing chain, the cover on, and the oil pan gasket as well takes Honda Bond. There is no gasket there. You could also put a little bit of Honda Bond, like what they suggest, around, say, the corners of where the valve cover is. Those have a tendency for being spots where they would leak on these. So like there. Could do a little bit here on the other side. You kind of get the gist of it. And then I guess wherever else you might want to put Honda Bond too, just for like your own peace of mind. Timing chain component kit was $54.79. I unfortunately did not go with an OEM Honda one, so fingers crossed. I hope that doesn't bite me in the ass in the future. Kind of cheap down there, but don't worry. I did actually get an OEM K28-2 timing chain tensioner. for peace of mind, because I've heard the aftermarket ones are good. Chains, it's a hit and miss. So fingers crossed. Like I said, hopefully don't bite me in the ass in the future. So timing chain component kit, that was $54.79 for that. Thermostat housing, I put it in my phone twice, $29.99 and $34.79, because the thermostat housing, it's gonna be hard for me to see, for you guys to potentially see, but right down there. I don't think I could get my camera to focus on that. Oh, there it kind of goes. It's two pieces. So there's a piece that goes from the thermostat housing to the water pump housing block, and there's the ones where the actual two pieces of the thermostat housing meet. So that's why I did that. Again, maintenance, peace of mind. You don't want that to leak in the future. My water pump, $42.79 for that. Idler and tensioner pulleys, over time, they might make noise. It's not uncommon, so I consider that maintenance. Figured since I had everything off, I'll do that. The idler pulley was $20.79. Tensioner pulley was $14.78. Spark plugs, I went with NGK BKR7Es, I believe it is. Part number is 2667, $57.99 for that. And in case you guys don't know, this is a K20A3 setup. The whole entire thing is a K20A3. As weird as this sounds, I found out that K20A2s come with a heat range of 7 spark plugs. A3s came with a heat range of 6. So I just kind of thought that was a little bit interesting from Honda to do that. So I just put the ones for the Type S engines, and so far I'll be honest, the car actually runs real better. I had 6s in here, I put 7s, and it just feels like the car just has it idles a little better, it picks up and goes better. So yeah, if you have a K20A3, I would definitely recommend these spark plugs, and based on DJ's recommendation, I did gap them to, I believe it was 0.025. That's the gap he suggested to me, and I went with those. Exetti Stage 1 clutch from a K20A2. I scored on this one. The person I bought from had it for about 600 miles and then put something else in. $90 I got that for. You can do a K20A2 clutch in a A3 like Seb. So mine is a full, like I said, A3 engine, trans, harness. So I'm still using a 5-speed. So you are able to use a K20A2 clutch, but you do need a K20A2 flywheel to go with it. The dowel pins and all that, there is a difference where they line up. So just keep that in mind. If you say, like I did, like I scored this clutch, it was for an A2, you have to go get an A2 flywheel. My best advice to you on that, if you guys have a shop or someone, like my own person, I love going to DJ and them, because I know they would have extras of this stuff. So they actually had a assortment of extra flywheels. So I got to go there, put my clutch on each of them, and then we found the one that is an actual K20A2 one. So thank you for that once again, DJ. Like I said, $90 was for that. Throw-up bearing, the alignment tool, and the pilot bearing, $40 for that. And we are done with page 1. Moving on to page 2. The VTC filter, you guys might not be able to see it. That's this little filter right there. Is a filter in there. So when I removed it, I didn't know. I don't know what its main objective is and all that, but I figured, you know what, it's a filter. Rather than just keep the stock one in there, I decided to just replace it with a new one. $7.63 for that. Rear main seal, since you gotta do a clutch, should do that. $13.15 for that. The crank position sensor O-ring. O-rings will sometimes go bad, and since I technically removed all that stuff when I kind of painted like my engine block, my flywheel, or my timing chain cover and all that. I was like, you know what, I'll just, for peace of mind, change this. So that O-ring was $2.18. VTC solenoid O-ring. There's an O-ring on the actual VTC solenoid on the inside. Peace of mind once again. $6.23. front coolant flange gasket, $1.82. That's the gasket that goes here for the front coolant flange. That was $182 for that. Coolant temperature sensor, $21.79. That's the sensor. You see it right there, kind of where my finger is. Again, maintenance item, just peace of mind. Do all this stuff. You'll thank yourself later in the future. $21.79 for that. OEM head gasket from Honda, $102.79. I know everyone uses a bunch of other ones, Cometic and all that. But I never had any issue with OEM Honda one, so I just decided to stick with that. OEM Honda gasket, $102.79 for that. Future video, I will let you guys know about the head, but I did actually get my head rebuilt as well too. Valve stem seals, they can be a part of the maintenance for an engine. Since you have it off, why not? Just, trust me, spend a little bit of money just so later on you don't have to go through that headache. And especially in an EF, there really is no room in here to do very much. So just hypothetical situation. Let's just say I had to remove the head. Trying to just even get the timing chain cover off, not gonna happen. And I'll tell you guys why. You could see the crank pulley bolt there, but I'll tell you this right now. If you go through the actual tire, there literally is no room to get this off. The engine will have to come out for me to even just get the timing cover off, get the crank pulley off and out. So I was like, you know what? I am not going to do this twice. In the future, if I have to, I have to, but I just did all this now. This is going to save me a lot of headache in the future, knock on wood. Hopefully everything I did right. So definitely I decided to do the head work on it. So just to go over some of that stuff. Intake and exhaust valve stem seals, $19.40 for each of those. So that was all. I believe I ordered 10. I don't know why. But yeah, I just got those as well too. Alternator, I didn't know if the alternator was good or not on this, so I replaced it. I actually went with a OE Denso unit. I purchased that from Rock Auto, and I sent my core back, so that was $176.76 for that. I forgot how much they sent me back on the core. I think it was maybe $30 or so. So I can't remember if I factored that in the price or if that was just buying the alternator outright. But again, maintenance item. If ever in the future I have to, kind of sort of a rest there, so that might be a pain in the ass in the future for me to replace. So I'm like, whatever, I'll do this now. ARP clutch and flywheel bolts, $83.20. You could go with OEM ones, nothing wrong with that. The only thing I will say that I did notice, and I wasn't exactly a fan of this, but the OEM clutch bolts, they kind of have it's a flange style. So it actually, it has like kind of a little more of a flat surface for you when you actually put your socket on. The ARP, the clutch bolts are actually pretty fat, and it was a little annoying when I was putting it on because I had to kind of rotate my socket here and there to kind of find the right spot for it to like where to actually fit. My socket was kind of thick. That's what she said. So there were some points when I was putting the actual socket on, it was sort of hitting the other part of the of like say the next bolt. It's like a triple square. No, not triple. Yeah, I think it was like a triple square style bolt. So it was a little bit fatter, but they're more stronger. So either one you could go with. So yeah, I just went with those, and again, $83.20 for that. Clutch release spring, that was $471 for that. That's the spring that's like in the trans. So yeah, that spring actually, when I pulled it out, it was rusty. I don't know how long the engine sat for outside, but I'm like, you know what? It's really thin metal, and there was rust on it. So why not just put in a new spring? Then we got the K20A2 flywheel, and I got that resurfaced from DJ and them at Rudd's, 124.80 for that. Clutch pedal pads. When I was taking the whole clutch pedal out, there are these little rubber pads on there. When I removed them, the one broke off right away, and the other kind of disintegrated. So I just put those pads on there, and I believe I purchased one more as well too, because the one for the brake pedal had also broke when I first got the swap put in. So that was $13.86 for the clutch pedal pads. That was from Honda. Another item for the head, SuperTech valve guides, 91.51. When you do valve stem seals and all that, recommend to do the valve guides as well too. Can be a potential wear item in the future. This one, it was a bit of like an extra BC single valve springs. For those that don't know, mine is a VTEC killer setup, but I will go over that in the future. The Spirit valve springs was for peace of mind, for a little more higher RPM revs for the engine. So you don't have to do the valve springs, but I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do this. So this can or can't be considered a maintenance item. Valve springs might break on you in the future, but since you're gonna say do the valve stem guides and like the valve stems, think about maybe investing in like some stiffer valve springs, or even you could just get like simple replacement ones. But again, most people just will go for the aftermarket ones. They are better. So those valve springs was not $190.44. VTC gear. I never heard the car turn on prior to me buying the engine, so I didn't know if the gear actually had the infamous rattle. So I ended up finding a OEM one off Amazon, and I scored 153.34. Came in the OEM Honda packaging, was an authentic one, so I was really, really happy on that. Most of them you'll find everywhere from a little over $200, but I managed to find this one from 153.34, so help save money. O2 sensor, Denso 154.91. Do not go for those aftermarket ones. Denso is the OE O2 sensor for these. They are factory wideband, so that's the one I went with. If you want, you could do like AM, those air fuel, their air fuel gauges, but not really needed. So like I said, the factory sensor is a factory wideband. So definitely go for a Denso one. Don't go for anything else. And we're done with the second, and we are actually at the last page. This one's just the first one, no front and back. DJ and them to do the valve stem seals, valve guides, install the valve springs, and just kind of clean up the head. $450 on that. So yeah, regardless, if I did not say buy the valve springs, or say I didn't want to do the valve guides, technically it all costs roughly about and also forgot too, since you take the head off, cleaning up like the valves as well too. So either way, it would still cost the same, just because you're in there doing it, and you don't want to say do this item, it won't make it any cheaper. So that was $450 for that. This one I mentioned the timing chains. I did not go with OEM, but I did go with an OEM K20A2 timing chain tensioner. $76.99 for that. I heard the aftermarket ones go bad. I don't know anything about the ones from like say Hybrid Racing or any of the other companies, but OEM's always been tried and true, so I just decided to stick with OEM. The dowel pin for the K20, there's two on these engines. When I first took the head off, one of them was good, but the other one had to kind of beat it up a little bit, so that was just something simple. I did reuse my the OEM head bolts. You do have to check to make sure they are not stretched, so there's a tolerance. So if you go online, if any of you have like a Honda like an OEM manual, they'll tell you what the tolerances are. Mine were still good in spec, and I put it in according to how Honda puts them in. I believe you torque them to a certain value of foot-pounds, and then you do a 90-degree turn, and then like in sequence in order. And then once you do it the first time, you do a second 90-degree turn again for them. And if you've got new head bolts, you would actually do a third 90-degree turn for them. So altogether, you would do 90 for if you reuse your old head bolts. But if you got a new head bolt, it'd be 90 and 90. But you would not do it all right away. So you would do like, you do 1 9, like example, 90 do that sequence. Once you're done with all, I believe there was 10 of those, you go back again, another 90, and then so on and so forth. And then if you had a new head bolt, one more time, same factory sequence for bolting the head down. I had ARP head studs. For some reason, I was not liking how it felt threading into the block. I did not have a thread chaser. I know ARP sells it in some other companies. Maybe if I did that, it might have felt better, but there was a big difference from my OEM ones to me putting the ARP ones in. Like I said, they were getting really hung up, and I did not like how they felt, and they wouldn't even thread all the way down. So that was my reason just for going again with the OEM head bolts. But again, you guys' choice if you want to do OEM or if you want to do aftermarket. Nothing bad with either of those. I will say this. I personally would not reuse the same head bolts twice. You have them in there the first time. This is technically my second time, so if I ever take this head off again in the future, I would not reuse them. I'd do either new ones, or I would think about getting an ARP like a thread chaser, and I'd go buy the ARP head studs and doing that. Those, they only just need to be torqued down to a value, and that's pretty much it. So either one of those, but yeah. And then the very last maintenance item, Denso coil packs, $172.96. Maintenance items, I did put my stock ones in. There was nothing wrong with them. They would just look a little discolored, but figured, you know what, why not? The engine, it won't hurt it. So everything was just very fresh on it. So $172.96 for all 4 of those, got them from Amazon. And the total cost for maintenance, if you want to say do the, like I made in my first video, the essentials, but you don't want to do the maintenance, all this maintenance cost me $2,441.22. Now I have my other list right here, so tack that on with the cost of the essential items that I had. For my first video, $65.35. So I'm not that great with math. So we'll just say take the 65 and the 24, and I am at almost that was $9,000. Yeah, so 6 and 2, 8, 5. So I was at $8,900. So quite a bit. So yeah, that's the cost for my maintenance items for doing this swap in this car, and then tack that on with my essentials. I will do one more video with this, going over just this stuff. The last video is going to be what I'll call the extras, the not needed, but it was nice to do, or I wanted more power, something like that. You could already see about 4 of the items. You got the intake manifold, or a few more. You got the intake manifold, the valve cover, the oil cap. To all those that know factory oil dipsticks here in the US, they're orange. You notice mine is black, so that's a OEM FD2 Type R one. So that's another extra. I didn't have to do that. Throttle body blocks unit. So again, that's what I consider like the extras. I'll go over all that on the future, catch can and all that. So yeah, that's going to be the last video of the series, where I just pretty much add up all the extras that I did to what I did internally, outside of the car and all that. And then we'll go over the absolute final price for what I did to put this whole entire K-Series engine in my car. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll let you guys know in the future how worth it was, how hard it was for me to do it, and all that. So yeah, you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday here. Hopefully you have a good Memorial Day. And as always, like I say, stay loose.